I haven't sent you the report for the month yet,
No.
so you don't know this, but we actually had a record sales month this month from YouTube specifically. So we did 5 deals. I'm talking to you on November 1st. So in October, we did 5 deals that came from YouTube. If we take the annual value of being 50K, 5 deals at 50K, that's $250,000 in annual revenue in a month
Yeah.
directly from YouTube, right? Not including everything else.
Insane.
And the caveat there is that the YouTube content that we use across the funnel is heavily influencing the other sales from the other channels as well
Yes.
that it's not getting credit for,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, like let's just put it at $250,000, but that is a low ball. That is worst case scenario. We've made $250,000 this month in yearly
Yeah.
revenue directly from YouTube. And on an annual basis, I could have pulled this up before the call if you told me you wanted this, but I'll give you a rough estimate. So if we say 10 months of the year, YouTube is generating even 2 clients, and I know it's more than that on average,
Yeah.
but let's say it's generating two, that's 20 deals a year, 20 deals a year at 50K contract value, that's $1 million.
Yep.
And honestly, I would say that is lowballing it. And also, that's in the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't include how much it's influenced the other sales. It generated more deals this month than any other source. It
Yeah.
generated more than outreach, it generated more than partnerships, it generated more than all the other content, it generated more than advertising. As we scale, I would expect us to get to the point where YouTube is generating somewhere between 5 to 10 clients a month consistently. I think off YouTube alone, we can probably do 3 to 5 million in the next 12 months.
So basically, we went from a place of like, okay, YouTube channels at 0, and now we're kind of adding like 7 figures a year from YouTube, like $1 million a year from YouTube. Right now, we did 250K estimated in the past 30 days, and obviously that's just in the first 11, 12 months, basically.
Yeah,
And yeah,
not bad.
nice.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
I'll
Not bad
take
at
it.
all.
I'll take it. Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Cool.
Padre, great to have you on the call.
Cool. Happy to be here.
Nice. So, can you give an introduction on who you are and what you do, just for anybody watching?
Yeah, so essentially, I run a company called The Growth Agency, and what we do, we've had a couple of different iterations, I guess, of what we do throughout the years, but essentially, we partner with experts in the B2B marketing space, and we run all of their marketing, all of their marketing and all of their sales. So imagine people running agencies, people running consulting offers, and every now and again, we bring in specialists in certain areas to help our clients, and that's obviously what we brought you in to work with the client in question that we're here to talk about.
Cool. Sounds good. Good introduction, super clear. So, what were you doing before working with us? And sort of like what state were you in, revenue, etc. So before we were actually working together.
Yeah, so for the client in question, I'm going to do a little bit of math in my head here. We were under $1 million for sure. We were definitely under $1 million. We had launched this client. So this particular person came to me when they were just starting the agency, right? It would be rare for me to work with somebody, to be honest, who was starting at zero.
Yeah.
But I took this person on because they had a great story and a great track record. So they had worked for other people in the industry. So we had a little bit of a, I guess, a launch pad, right, that we could take to market. And we were under $1 million. I think we were somewhere in around the 500K a year mark. And that was from, cold email, referrals, different sort of partnerships that we have and different relationships and networks that we have. But we were looking to essentially, we knew that YouTube was going to be a big play. I'm a big believer in long-term strategies. Like you got to kind of mix it up. I'm a big believer in diversity as well, and a big believer in video. So all of those things would lead you to YouTube being a great channel, obviously that we can market on. So for this client in particular, I thought that he had all of the attributes, right, that would make somebody who's good on YouTube, well spoken, good looking guy, easy on the eye, likable, highly, high level of domain expertise, just everything you would want for a personal brand, I guess. And so yeah, I think that was when we reached out to you guys. I can't remember exactly how. I think you were introduced to me by somebody. I think somebody in my network, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I
Was
think
it Brian? Was it
Brian.
Brian?
I think yeah.
I
It was
think it
Brian.
was actually. I think it was one of those serendipitous moments where I was looking for somebody, and I think Brian says, "Hey, you should look at these guys." And
Yeah.
I hadn't seen your stuff up to that point, but as soon as we got on the phone, I was like, okay, these guys are who we're looking for. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's super cool. Okay, so then I guess like around that time, I think because that was a over a year ago now. I want to say I think it was actually around a year ago from now when you were sort of considering we were in that phase. So like around that time when you were really considering taking YouTube seriously, what were the actual problems that you were trying to solve and the sort of frustrations that you were having at the time with those
Yeah.
problems? What was happening?
Yeah, so I think one of the, and I'll try to keep this as short as possible because I could give you a very long answer to this. I'll give you a short one, right? I think anybody who's watching this video is probably, they're in or a lot of your clients are in the high ticket space. I'm right in saying that, right? Most of the people you work with are in the high ticket space, right?
It's a mixture. Like we've got a lot of high ticket B2B, and then also we do have low ticket SaaS as well. So SaaS is a big portion as well, but
Okay.
a lot of high ticket too.
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is probably going to be true of all of those markets, but it's certainly true of high ticket in the sense that the market constrained a lot over the last couple of years, right? The
Yeah.
barrier for entry was very low for a long period of time. All of these markets were relatively new.
Mhm.
And what ended up happening was, the market as a whole had hired lots of agencies and lots of consultants in all different categories, right? In our case, we're working specifically in e-commerce with this particular client, but this would be true of pretty much every market. And the level of market skepticism just rose and rose and rose and rose to the point where it was no longer, I'm not going to say it was no longer possible, because it definitely was possible because we were doing it, to take somebody from, people say from cold to sold, right? But
Yeah.
just because you can take somebody from cold to sold, in 7 days, doesn't mean that you should, right? Because one of the things you want to do in high ticket, ideally, is you want to get that person sold on you as an individual before getting on the call because it makes closing an awful lot easier and it also
Mhm.
allows you to charge more money. So what we were trying to do is we wanted to build a mechanism because YouTube can be looked two ways, right? You can look at YouTube as a mechanism to attract more very qualified traffic, which
Mhm.
which you guys have definitely done for us. But probably the more important part for us is that we're able to use that content on our sales funnel. So every lead that comes through, we're able to put really highly professional content. It doesn't matter if it was created for YouTube, right? It's really well edited, it's very professional looking, and we're able to create a sales funnel and put that stuff on the funnel so that people go through that before the call. And I can tell you that every single person who gets on a call with us now at this point, my sales team tell me this because we have one person who takes all of the calls for this particular business, and his name is Darren. And Darren tells me after like every month when I do a review with him, he's like, at this point for this particular person, everyone who gets on the call has already watched so much content. They've watched 10 videos, 12 videos. So by the time they get on the call, they're already sold on working with this agency. They're not shopping around. They understand that they're going to be premium priced. Closing the deals is just so much easier because we've built a sort of like authority in a relationship with them, as opposed to them getting on a call and just saying, like, what can you do for me? These other guys are going to charge X, Y, Z, and it becoming a race to the bottom of price. So the
Yeah.
problem we were looking originally, because I've been in this game obviously a long time and I understand how this game works, we were looking for what is the best use of our resources to solve both of those problems. We want to add in traffic source that has quality, but we also want to create content for that specific use of taking someone from top of funnel to bottom of funnel in the shortest space of time. And YouTube was the obvious choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's the thing where like I think a lot of people are looking at YouTube as like a acquisition system, right? Something that can generate leads and then also nurture those leads and convert them into clients. And that's what it's starting to get that notability for. People are starting to go to it towards that. But
100%.
the thing that people really miss is like the impact that it has on all the other efforts that they're doing. Like you said, right, the nurturing from all these other different traffic sources like paid advertising, cold email, etc. Right, like the journey of a buyer is no longer sees ad, goes to landing page, like watches VSL, then books a call, and then sales process. It's like they see the ad, they might not, like they might not go down that process straight away, but then, they see your YouTube videos and then they search you on Google and they see your YouTube channel like ranking highly and they also see your LinkedIn, etc. And it's like this spider web, really. Um,
100%. One of the interesting things as well is that I'm going to give a little bit of secret sauce here, right? What we found was, so let's forget about the traffic that came from YouTube, and I'll go into that in detail in a minute if you want, right? Because obviously, we had our biggest month this month for this client from YouTube,
yeah,
and I'll walk you through that in a couple of minutes. But the traffic that we're getting from every other source, right? From all of our other socials, from all of our direct outreach, advertising, everything else that we do, we're driving them to the funnel and we're putting that content front line and center. But what's actually started to happen because we are embedding the YouTube videos into the funnel is that now when they go to YouTube, they get served all of this client's content. And we've had so many people come on calls and bring this up. And they were like, oh yeah, you guys sent us an email. We landed on your we watched one of your videos, but then we went to YouTube and then all we seen was your videos everywhere. It's like, right? That
yeah,
wasn't that's not a coincidence, right? We were hoping that would be the case, but it's worked out very well for us, right? So even if we don't get them with the content on the funnel, now we've sent a signal back to YouTube. YouTube knows that they've watched a certain percentage of our videos, so now they're going to be served our videos organically. So when that person goes to YouTube and they go to their feed, they're just going to see this guy's videos all the time, which is just amazing, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I think YouTube is. I think a lot of people who they don't see the true value in the YouTube content. They just see, oh, it's another lead generation source. No, it's not. It's all of your long form content can be created for YouTube and then redistributed across the funnel, across all of your different channels. YouTube can kind of be the source, right? Or the seed, right? And then that content just used everywhere else. So yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it makes sense, like completely. And I think, I mean, there's like a study by Google that on average people need like 7 hours of exposure to
Seven
like
eleven
create content on
four.
average.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yeah, that, yeah. And like, how are you going to get that with short form content? Like to build that 7 hours with just short form and not long form. It's pretty difficult. So
Well, I think just an interesting point on that.
yeah,
One of the things we found on the funnel is that because YouTube is such a competitive platform, right? You guys put so much work into thumbnailing, right? And making everything like titles and thumbnails and descriptions. But when we put that stuff on the funnel and somebody comes and watches one video, like then they see we have it set up in a way where you've got a video. So we have like a content template
yeah,
where it shows a video and then it shows like 8 more videos underneath. And that stuff is just so dopamine inducing that they
yeah,
can't just watch one video.
yeah,
So like people are sitting down, they go there, they see the video, they go, okay, click, I'm gonna watch this. And all of a sudden, 90 minutes later, they realize I've watched all of these videos. And we just keep serving them more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And what we
yeah,
did was we tried to figure out which videos got us on YouTube, which videos were getting us the most views. And then we took that data and we applied that to the funnel. So we put those videos to the top of that list. So now we have the most dopamine inducing content at the very top. So
yeah,
regardless of how they get there, they're being served, the videos with the titles and the thumbnails that they're just the most likely to click. And yeah, it's
yeah,
had a huge effect. So like someone comes to watch a 5-minute video, an hour and a half later, 2 hours later, they realize, my God, I watched the whole thing. Now they're filling out an application to work with us. And just, I'll give you a funny story on this that happened yesterday with this client. One of the downsides of being a YouTube expert is that you do sometimes get people coming on calls who say, hey, we'll work with your agency, but we only want to work with you specifically,
yeah,
right? This is one of the downsides, right? I'm sure you've came in this problem yourself. I've had this problem. This client has had this problem as well.
yeah,
So somebody came on a call the other day and they said this. Now we usually shoot that down and we say, hey, this individual runs the agency, but they're not going to be the person running your ad accounts,
yeah,
right? But we always dangle a carrot and say, look, it's possible he might do it, but it would be like, 30 grand a month, right?
yeah.
And in this particular case, he went to that client and he says 30 grand a month and they said yes.
No way.
Yeah. Now, we did it as a deterrent. We weren't expecting them to say yes. But it does show, we're not sure if we're going to accept that deal at this point because he doesn't want to do it, right? because
Oh,
his agency's growing so fast that would be. I know it's
it'd
maybe
be a
for
lot
some
of
people
time.
watching this, the idea of turning down 30 grand a month to run somebody's ads is insane. But like, when the agency is growing as fast as his agency is growing, he's got to look at time. But I think it proves an amazing point is that YouTube gives you this status. Like anybody can start a
Yeah,
YouTube channel. Anybody, it's like that whole phase that happened a few years back where everybody was writing a book. Everybody was an author, right? But you can self-publish a book, right? But you can call yourself an author, right?
yeah,
And authoring a book gave people a lot of status. Whereas nowadays, if somebody sits down and they watch your YouTube channel, and if the content is really good, it's a way for you to kind of like flex your muscles a little bit and show people like, hey, I'm a true expert, right?
yeah,
I understand this stuff at a very deep level. All of a sudden now, they trust you so much that they were willing to pay 5, 6 times more. In this case, like a lot of these brands who come in without all of this, these are brands that you're struggling to get, 2K a month out of, 3K
yeah.
a month out of. But all of a sudden now you've got a brand coming in going, we'll pay you 30K, right?
Insane.
30K in service fees just to have you running it because we trust you so much. So for anybody who's
Yeah,
on the fence, who thinks that this doesn't have a big enough effect, this has a huge effect. There's an
yeah,
enormous effect, right? Like we've even had recently, this guy was on a sales call, and midway through the sales call, the guy just stopped him and goes, "Just so you know, there's nothing that you're going to say on this call that's going to convince me not to buy from you. Send me the contract." And like as his sales trainer, I would always teach him, don't take the bait.
yeah,
Don't like generally speaking, I would say don't take that bait.
yeah.
But in this particular case, he did the math in his head and he just felt like the guy was being genuine. So he goes, okay, I'll send it over. The guy signed it in 90 seconds, right? So he messaged me. He's like, you'll never guess what's after happening. He goes, I broke one of your rules. He goes, a guy told me he was going to buy in the middle of the call, so I just sent him the contract, and he just signed 90 seconds later. So yeah, it's amazing.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's complete indoctrination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
30K a month is like
yeah,
nuts. Like that
yeah,
is
yeah. I'll be honest.
turning down is even more nuts as well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's always funny when I see these things happen. But again, I'm sure,
Yeah.
like, well, if we ask the question, when you were referred to me, why did I, why was I confident, right?
Yeah.
I went into your funnel. I seen that you were implementing a lot of the strategies, the YouTube strategies that I know work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it seemed like you had some like a level of, I wouldn't even say a level of expertise. I would also
Mm.
say you seemed very curious, right? That's
Yeah.
one of the things that stood out about you right out of the gate was you seemed like somebody that lies in bed at night staring at the ceiling thinking, how can I improve these campaigns by 5%? Right?
Yeah.
I want to be the best YouTube guy in the space. Like, how do we make this 5% better? Right?
Yeah.
And obviously, that's the sort of person you want to be working with across any domain,
Yeah.
right? Because that,
100%.
like, somebody who is that obsessed with perfection is going to be able to squeeze out results that nobody else is going to be able to squeeze out. So, like,
Mm.
were there people cheaper than you guys that we could have gone with? Absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
But again, like it's like a lot of things. Like this is in every market. It's in my market. It's in your market. It's in the ecom market. It's in the local lead gen market. There are cheap agencies and there are experts who charge double, triple, quadruple the prices,
Mm.
but they give you 10x the outcome. So which do
Yeah.
you want? Do you want someone cheap who just has bad customer service and just doesn't get the result, or do you want somebody who's good, who has great customer service, who can get you 10 times the results in a shorter space of time?
Yeah.
Right? This seems logical to guys like us, but
Yeah. Yeah. I
this,
mean,
this is
yeah,
not this
exactly.
is not the way the market looks at it all the time.
No, but yeah, because I was gonna ask that as well because I do remember that at the time when we were kind of going back and forth and we were first speaking for the first time, there were other YouTube agencies as well that you were sort of considering. So I was gonna ask like, what really made you eventually go with us over these, the other ones from what you were saying? Was there something that stood out? Was it what you just mentioned or?
Yeah, there was. I looked at a couple of different options, and you and one other person like really stood out to me. And you were kind of like neck and neck. And I think I told
Yeah,
you this at the time,
yeah, I
right?
remember. Yeah,
Like you were neck and neck with this other agency. I think what gave you the edge was that I felt that other agency, and like again, did this other person I spoke to, I liked them a lot. I thought they were very similar in a lot of ways, but you just seemed like again that curiosity, that sort of like again, it's something I have myself, right?
yeah,
It's like I am obsessed with perfection in what I do, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking always to work with somebody who has that same level of drive to be like, I want to be the best in my category. Like the guy whose channel you're running for me right now, he's the same, right?
Yeah.
It's perfectionism. So I would probably say that sort of you did a good job in your own funnel of conveying expertise, and we were hiring you to use YouTube to convey expertise in our funnel. So you demonstrated in your own sales funnel. So if anybody's watching this and you haven't been through Jake's sales funnel, I highly recommend you go through it. You use a lot of strategies that I was using, like use the Google Doc strategy,
Yep.
right? You've got a really good VSL. Your funnel is, unless it's changed since I've been through it, I'm sure it's been through some iterations, but it was very simple, but it was also very direct,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
could go from, okay, we're curious to let's book a call with these guys very quickly. So
Yeah.
I know you guys probably get a lot of calls because that
Yes.
that funnel would it's set up well and it's executed well.
Yeah. Yeah, we might be making like some adjustments to it since we're, going for like, high-end B2B companies. So we probably, because it is very obviously like a click funnel, it's like
Yeah,
funnel. But yes, like it is very direct, and yeah, like a lot of those strategies we do use. Okay, that's good to hear. So I guess aside from kind of these other YouTube agencies, what sort of, at the time, what hesitations and doubts did you have before and even when diving into us, right? Because obviously this was a new relationship. We did like I'm sure there were some things where you were like, you know, is it going to work out? That type of thing. What sort of hesitations and doubts did you have in that initial stage?
yeah. I think whenever you're hiring a new agency to do anything, right? I think there's always like, okay, we don't want to sign like a 12-month contract or something where we're locked into this if the relationship isn't good. You can never know how well you're going to work with a group before you actually dive in. So there's always that bit of hesitation, I guess. Are we making the right decision here? But I think if once you do your due diligence, you just got to make a choice on it. The thing we're hesitant was, would we work well with your team? Would the customer service be up to scratch? And ultimately speaking, like, will these guys be able to get us growth above and beyond what we would be able to do either ourselves or hiring another maybe less expensive agency, or
Yeah,
trying to piece it together ourselves by hiring an editor and all this stuff, which, to be honest, I played around it at the time, but I stroked that off the list very quickly because I just
yeah,
don't have the bandwidth, and neither does the person on the other side. So I think the same hesitations anybody would have is, how quickly are we going to see a return,
yeah.
right? I can't remember exactly. I'm not sure if you remember, but it was pretty. I think it was a
I think it was.
couple of
I think it was
months.
the first. I think it was the first month where we saw like, because we posted the first video, like that one's actually doing really well right now, but that was a bit of more of a slow burner. Like it's really taking off now through YouTube search. But the second video that we posted, I think brought in a lot of book calls, and I think we got clients, like quite a few clients from that over time. But I think initially we got some like very early on, like month one or month two at the
Yeah,
latest,
it
I
was
think.
pretty early if I remember, because I had kind of set the expectation that let's give it 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
and we weren't even holding you to the standard of it needs to generate a client for us. Although I might not
Yeah.
have told you that up front, right? Maybe I told you up front, we'll give you 3 months and let's see if we get
Yeah,
some clients.
I think it was more like that.
Yeah, the reality is that we were kind of like, we're both fairly reasonable guys in the sense
Yeah.
that, again, what I do, right? So for the client in question, here's an interesting point, right? And I've had this experience probably across my entire career, if I'm honest,
Mm.
is that the clients that I have long term, my best clients, right? That where we run their entire operation and these guys are doing millions of dollars in sales,
Mm.
they got the worst short term results with us,
Yeah.
right? So this particular client that we're talking about here didn't generate his first client from what we do before we brought you guys on, right?
Mm.
I think it was like 5 months.
Yeah.
5 months, which was one of the longest times we've ever had, right?
Yeah.
So, how would it be fair or reasonable of me to hold you guys to a higher standard than that, right?
Mm.
Like we built a lot of infrastructure before you guys came in, but at the same time, YouTube was a new channel for us. I don't think we weren't starting from scratch. This is one of the points I'm going to make as well. We had a
Yeah.
YouTube guys we had brought in before you guys, that unfortunately the relationship, they just weren't good enough. They were young guys, nothing personal against them. They tried. There was just too many mistakes, and we were looking for a more professional outfit. So the channel had, I think, a couple of hundred subscribers, or maybe 100 subscribers or
It
something.
had less. It had like 460, I think. 40 or 60,
Okay,
something
okay,
like that.
like yeah, it was very low.
Yeah.
It didn't have enough traction
No.
that you could give credit or take credit away from you guys, right? It was pretty
Yeah.
much at zero, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would say probably the hesitance was, are we going to have the same experience with you guys as we had with those other guys,
Yeah.
right? Where videos are not being uploaded on time, there's mistakes in spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of agencies, one of the problems in the space is they outsource a lot of their editing to
Yep.
countries where English is not the first language, right?
Mm.
And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, as long as there's enough quality control in place to make sure that nothing ever goes live with a mistake. But
Yeah.
in the case of the other guys, they were the young guys. They were very early in their career. I don't have
Yes.
no idea what they're doing now. But for us at the time, it was just the mistakes were just too frequent,
Yeah.
and we felt like that would we would lose credibility,
Yeah.
right? So to answer your question, I know I've got a long way around this, but we didn't want to have the same experience we had already had up to that point. That's essentially it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing we did clear those hesitations and
Yeah,
doubts.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah,
Cool.
like I think once we seen that those initial videos were getting good traction, like
Yeah.
I'm going to contradict myself here a little bit because I always complain about agencies. One of the things I always say to my clients is, people don't. Am I allowed to use bad language here, or would you prefer I keep this clean?
Uh, you can use it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
like nobody gives a fuck about vanity metrics, right?
Yeah.
So like too many marketers will say, "Oh, we got this amount of views and this amount of clicks and this amount of this." It doesn't matter if it's YouTube or paid ads or whatever, right?
Yeah.
These are all downstream. Yes, of course these things matter, right? These things are important KPIs, but at sooner or later they have to lead to a sale, right? We have to be able to directly attribute, and the attribution question, I cannot stand when marketers tell me, "Oh, but you can't attribute." It's like I run an agency that gets paid on performance. We run
Yeah.
outreach, we do content, we do partnerships, we do ads, and we attribute every sale down to the T. Trust me, you can attribute because if you weren't able to, I would make no money,
Yeah.
right? So it drives me absolutely insane when I hear marketers say that. But when we looked at your metrics early on and we were seeing, okay, there was like one or two videos where we kind of hit a hockey stick in terms of views. And we
Yeah.
just looked at, the working relationship with your team. You guys seem to be very invested in, you were proactive, I guess. We weren't chasing you for ideas. You were coming to us with ideas. Hey, I think this
Yeah.
video might work. This video might work. We might not have always agreed that that was the best way, but you guys were putting loads of ideas on the table. And
Yeah.
like, I think that relationship has continued up until this point. And,
Yeah.
I think we're rocking and rolling at this point, right?
Yes, I'd say
Yeah,
so. So we'll get into that actually. So I'm gonna
yeah.
check. I'm gonna check when we actually started posting videos on the channel because I'm not sure the exact time that it was. Let's see.
I think it would have been December last year, or was it January of this year?
I feel like it was. So the first video went live November of last year. So November
Oh, it's
20.
almost exactly 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, like 11 months. So, and that video's sitting at 10K views. So the first video we posted, that was November 20th, so like 10, 11 months ago, basically. And so YouTube channel then was around like pretty much new, like 60, 40 subscribers, had a few videos on, yeah. So then now, what does that sort of transformation look like, basically? I mean, we're going to go into detail on this because there's probably
Well,
lots of
I'll
different
be honest,
things.
I don't have it open in front of me, so you're gonna have to give me the numbers. But I think I think we broke 5,000 subs,
Yeah, so we are at 5,600 subs.
but that is scaling very fast now, right?
Yes, it's hockey sticking right now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points as well that anybody watching this should kind of take into consideration. Like, obviously, me and the person in question, we are educated buyers, right? We know coming into something like this that it takes a lot of work to get the momentum. So I think, I don't know from your side, but I would consider us be very reasonable clients in terms of expectations of that. We didn't come into this saying, how do we get 50,000 subs in a year, right? We
Yeah.
came into it saying, how do we keep quality super high? Because we don't care, and I think most business owners shouldn't care about that metric that everybody seems to care. Oh, I've got this amount of subs. Like
Yeah.
I know people who have, I literally know people who have 100,000 subs and they can't monetize them. It's like
Yeah.
I also know people who have 1,000 subs. We were one of them at one point, right?
Yeah.
Not so long ago, and we're monetizing the hell out of it. So it's like
Yeah.
quality matters far more than quantity. And I think I think a lot of people, if they're honest with themselves, they care more about the fame. They want the status, right? We live in
Yeah.
especially young guys in the B2B space. A lot of people want to be
Yeah.
able to say, "Oh, I got 50,000 subs on YouTube," right? Whereas like I couldn't care less, right?
Yeah.
I would rather have a bigger bank account.
Yeah.
And you got to ask yourself the question: Am I after fame or am I after impact, right? On the business, right? And we came at it from the angle of we don't want a sub if that sub isn't worth something, right? And by being worth something, it doesn't mean they have to be a full paying client that pays us, 100 grand a year. They could potentially be somebody who is influences the sales for somebody else, right? Maybe they work for a brand that we could work with or something. But if we're going to be attracting, every Tom, Dick, and Harry who has no money to spend, doesn't even have a brand, they're just hobbyists or something, that's really no good to us,
Yeah.
right? So I think we've grown by what, like 5,000 in a year, let's just say.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, yeah, like 5,600 subscribers from about like 64, like 10 months. But that's on
But
the, so that's on the subscriber front, and obviously the views
the,
there as well. Yeah, like
but the
hundreds of views.
hours, I think, is probably the metric that would, for us at least, be the hours.
Yeah, so hours 12.2 thousand, 12,200
Yeah,
hours of watch
yeah.
time.
So that's the thing is like, if you look at the type of content we make, which is obviously in this case, media buying content for e-commerce businesses, right? So nobody randomly decides that they want to sit down and watch some guy talking about running Facebook ads for e-commerce businesses unless
Yeah.
they are either A, they are themselves a media buyer and they're trying to educate themselves or trying to get some sort of an edge in the market. B, they work for an e-commerce business, or C, they own an e-commerce business, or D, they're a lunatic who is, has too much time on their hands, right? And is very, very, very bored. So like because it's so specific, because the content is just so specific for that part of the market, you can, bet your bottom dollar that at least 80% of those minutes are from people who we could sell to either now or in the future. So
Yeah.
like that's the metric that really, when we started looking at month over month, when we speak to you guys and you give us our updates and stuff, it just seems, I think about 3 months ago, that just started skyrocketing,
Yeah.
right? The minutes viewed. And we know that every additional minute viewed is a potential another call on the calendar. That's the way
Yeah.
we look at it at this point, right? Because those guys
Yeah.
are coming in. The average call we get at this point has watched more than 1 to 2 hours of content. And we know this not because we're tracking it meticulously, it's because they tell us.
Yeah.
They literally say on the call, we've watched your videos, or what we notice is when we audit their ad accounts, they have the name of the channel as the campaign structure. So they've
Right.
tried to replicate the tutorials themselves first. In some
Yeah.
cases, they see good results and they're like, okay, well, if we've got this good results, we want these guys to manage it for us. Or B, they try to do it themselves and they fail miserably and they realize that this is really difficult. And then they bring in the experts. But one way or
Yeah.
another, it's so interesting to see that, like, even with a relatively small channel, like how monetizable it is at the small scale. Because
It's nuts.
I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but if we've got 5,000 subscribers in the last year, what would be a reasonable expectation for the next 12 months?
Yeah, well, like with the growth that we're seeing, I think we're going to be at tens of thousands of subscribers. I think we're going to be one of
Yeah,
the biggest in the entire space. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's the thing is like if we got 5,000, let's just say it triples. Let's
Yeah.
like the growth. So we go from
Yeah.
5 to 20, right? So we go from the growth of 5 to the growth of 15,
Yeah.
right? And I think that would be a reasonable expectation, right? No,
Yeah.
no pressure. But yeah, like it's just even at 5, even if it just stayed the way it is right now,
Yeah.
we can build. We can probably scale. I'm going to do some math in my head before I make this statement, right? I don't want to oversell it,
Yeah.
but at 5, At 5K with the way we're going right now, we can probably get close to 8 figures.
Yeah.
Just think about that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas there are people out here with 70,000 subs who can't even make $1 million.
No.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy
crazy.
because it
Yeah,
compounds, right? Like it compounds. Even if you left the channel, like if you left the channel, those videos that exist on the channel now are going to continue to bring in more
it's just
clients, and especially with it being monthly recurring clients, that's it's compounding. So, yeah,
yeah,
it's
100%.
huge.
100%. But the one piece of advice I will give to anybody who's watching this, who's thinking about using YouTube, is that the barrier for entry is high.
Yes,
There's,
definitely.
and that's a good thing, right? People are just so, in my market, it's just, and I'm technically we're in a similar market. You're kind of in a subsection of my market,
Yeah,
but like everybody is obsessed with quick, easy, and cheap. And the problem with quick, easy, and cheap is it's quick, easy, and cheap for everybody else.
yeah,
And so if it's quick, easy, and cheap, you're going where all of the competition is, and it's going to attract the bottom end of the market. But
yeah,
the barrier for entry of YouTube is just high enough where you probably need an expert like Jake and his team running your to really be able to grow. You need somebody doing this full time to be running your channel. That's number one. And number two, you're gonna need to spend a little bit of time every week recording. That's it. But that's enough to keep 99% of the market away.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it doesn't need to be a crazy barrier of entry. It's just high enough that everybody else is too lazy or they don't have enough money to do it, and that's a great thing because then all of a sudden a year goes by, 2 years go by, like we're already like if somebody was trying to catch us now, how are they going to catch us? We've already done that first year. We've done the hardest work already.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to compound hard. It will be very difficult for somebody. I'll go as far as to say if somebody else in the market was to do everything else we're doing minus YouTube, it does not a chance they could compete with us because
Yeah.
the YouTube videos go on our funnel, which converts all of the other traffic. The YouTube videos get cut up into shorts, which go across all of the other channels. There's so many more use cases. The YouTube videos get sent to our email list every week as an email newsletter. Hey, we just recorded a video on XYZ. Check it out. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you don't have the video, you don't have that touch point either, right? So
Yeah.
there's just so many other things that the YouTube can be used for. If somebody didn't have the YouTube content, there's just no way they can compete.
No. Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that you're definitely praising YouTube, but it really does have
Oh, it's
that
huge.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. Well, there's a reason
Cool.
why everybody who's doing well in high ticket, right?
Yeah.
Name me somebody who's doing well in high ticket who isn't on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Like who's really killing it, right?
Like big numbers, there's
Yeah,
nobody. Yeah.
yeah. I know this market inside out. I'm not saying that I know absolutely everybody, but I know a lot of people.
Mhm.
Every single person who is on YouTube praises YouTube as being their best acquisition channel
Yeah.
because the quality is so high. Because those people came searching for the solution.
Yeah.
They had to go looking for it. It's no different than why, people will say like in more traditional marketing, like Google ads versus Facebook ads, right?
Hmm.
It's intent-based marketing versus disruptive marketing,
Yeah.
right? Well, you get with YouTube channel, you get the best of both worlds. Initially, it's intent-based because that's how they find you.
Yeah.
But beyond that point, it's disruptive because your videos just keep being put in front of them. So even if they go to their YouTube after that fact and they weren't specifically looking for, how to run Facebook ads for e-commerce,
Hmm.
well, your videos are still being served. So you're almost getting like initially intent-based, which keeps the quality high,
Yeah.
but then you're getting built-in organic retargeting that you don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible when you look at it that way, right? Considering the amount of money that we spend, on retargeting campaigns across other platforms where YouTube gives it to you for free.
Yeah.
But you got to earn it.
Yes. You have to. That. Yeah. Exactly. Like that's what I've always said is like it's a double-edged sword where all the companies that are trying YouTube right now, 99% of them don't see results and they think it doesn't work because you've really got to do YouTube right. But it means that if you do cross that barrier to entry, like you're in a market of your own because there's going to be zero people who can compete with you. Like nobody can compete. So you kind of just take the majority market share basically, which is why we're able to see also such a huge transformation in terms of like, clients added, etc. It's,
It's
that
huge.
really contributes to that.
Yeah, 100%. But again, like you look at, if you go top of market, right?
Yeah.
Let's take someone like Alex Ramosi. Like everybody looks up to Alex. Alex has earned, in my opinion, Alex has earned the right in the market to be
Yeah.
the top guy, right?
Yeah.
He's put in the work, he's gotten the results, he has all of the accolades, he deserves to be there. why do people think that guy put so much effort into YouTube? I actually think he did a video recently that I watched. I thought it was very good. Most of his videos are very good, but this one in particular stood out as being one of his better ones, which was rating all of the different channels
Yes.
and the quality.
Yep.
And he was speaking about like how like TikTok, they have so many views on TikTok, and yet
Yeah.
almost none of it turns into a qualified lead for them.
Yeah, it was at
But
the
yet,
bottom. It was ranked at the
yeah,
bottom, yeah.
yeah. Whereas YouTube, I think YouTube was at the top if I
YouTube
remember
is at the
correctly.
top with
Yeah, whereas just
Instagram, I
like yeah,
think. Yeah.
like long form. These are the people who, if they sit down and watch all of these videos, every additional minute they watch makes them more qualified,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So yeah, if if
Cool.
uh, if Alex is giving it the seal of approval, I think that that's the ultimate.
Yeah, don't take our word for it. If you don't want to take ours for
Yeah,
it, then take Alex's. But
yeah,
okay, cool. So then I guess like just so the viewers know, then we've went from like basically 0 to 5,600 subscribers, 12,200 watch time, like a lot of growth. But what does that actually look like in terms of the revenue, which is what everybody cares about? That's really
right.
what matters most, right? So what does that revenue transformation look like? Revenue added, all of those different things.
Well, let me get my phone out here. I'm going to do some maths for you.
Okay.
Uh, I haven't sent you the report for the month yet,
No.
so you don't notice, but we actually had a record sales month this month from YouTube specifically,
Yeah.
right? So it was our second biggest sales month of all time, but it was our biggest month attributed to YouTube. So we did 5 deals. I'm talking to you on November 1st. So in October, we did 5 deals that came from YouTube. One video in particular drove 3 of those, I think. So we're going to be sitting down talking to you guys about uh, that specific piece of
Yeah.
content,
Yeah.
and then obviously seeing if we can create more similar content or whatever, because that would really hit home.
Mm.
But it's just to look at that month, I can give you an estimate over the whole year if you want as well.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
yeah,
I'll give you the
loads.
month. If we look at this particular client has a annual deal value of somewhere in the range of low end 40K,
Mm.
high end 60K. We have some that are in the 60 to 100 range. We
Yeah,
have some that are 100 plus. But
yeah,
on average, we're talking about 40 to 60. So let's just say an average of about 50.
yeah,
If we take the annual value of being 50K, 5 deals at 50K, that's $250,000 in annual revenue in a month
yeah.
directly from YouTube, right? Not including everything else.
Insane.
And the caveat there is that the YouTube content that we use across the funnel is heavily influencing the other sales from the other channels as well
Yes.
that it's not getting credit for,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, like let's just put it at $250,000, but that is a low ball. That is worst case scenario. We've made $250,000 this month in yearly
Mm.
revenue directly from YouTube. And on an annual basis, I could have pulled this up before the call if you told me you wanted this, but I'll give you a rough estimate.
Yeah.
On an average month, we've had months where YouTube has driven zero sales, right?
Yeah.
And I want to make sure everybody understands that as well. Like this is not it's not linear, but if you zoom out far enough, it starts to look like a straight line. So we've had the odd month since YouTube generated its first sale. I think we might have had 2 months of the year,
Hmm.
right? So if we've been working together for 12 months, maybe 2 of those months, YouTube didn't generate a sale, maybe 3,
Yeah.
but definitely no more than this. Every other month, it's bringing in 2 to 3 clients like clockwork. So if we say 10 months of the year, YouTube is generating even 2 clients, and I know it's more than that on average,
Yeah.
but let's say it's generating 2, that's 20 deals a year, 20 deals a year at 50K contract value, that's $1 million.
Yep.
And honestly, I would say that is lowballing it. And also, that's in the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't include how much it's influenced the other sales. So
Yeah.
YouTube went from being it was a long-term play, it being from one of our, I don't want to say worst channels in terms of attribution, whilst we were building it
Yeah.
up, to the point now where, well, it generated more deals this month than any other source. It
Yeah.
generated more than outreach, it generated more than partnerships, it generated more than all the other content, it generated more than advertising,
Mm.
right? So as we scale, I would expect us to get to the point where YouTube is generating somewhere between 5 to 10 clients a month consistently.
Yeah.
And that's just,
That's
yeah. So
insane.
I think off YouTube alone, we can probably do 3 to 5 million in the next 12 months.
Yep. That's what we're gonna go for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like looking at the data, that's where we're heading, like naturally, to be honest.
Yeah.
So basically, we went from a place of like, okay, YouTube channels at 0, and now we're kind of adding like seven figures a year from YouTube, like $1 million a year from YouTube. Right now, we did 250K estimated in the past 30 days, and obviously that's just in the first 11, 12 months, basically.
Yeah,
And yeah,
not bad.
nice.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
I'll
Not bad
take
at
it.
all.
I'll take it. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that's that covered. I don't think that there's much else to go through in terms of that. So I guess like aside from like actual direct revenue, what's the actual impact been? Like aside from, just speaking numbers, what has the impact been on the actual business?
Well, I think I've already touched on one of the big things, which is sales calls have become so much easier, right?
Yeah.
Like my background, I know you know my background, but like my background is high ticket sales.
Hmm.
Like one of the reasons people hire me is to help them build a sales process and engineer the entire thing and to run the entire thing so they can run the back end. And
Yeah.
for a lot of our clients, we would run the sales department as well.
Hmm.
Whereas for this particular client, he wants to speak to everyone. I think as well, this guy in particular wanted from day one, he knew he wasn't a natural salesperson. And sometimes you find somebody who has a weakness that they want to fix and they're not
Hmm.
happy. They could offset it to somebody else, but he didn't want to. He wanted to learn the skill of salesmanship.
Yeah.
And he has become a very formidable salesperson for
Yeah.
sure, right? He's gotten good. But the YouTube content has helped so much because people come out, like I said, that client who has said, "Oh, we're willing to pay 30K," or the one who was like, "Hey, just send me the contract, I'll sign it," right?
Yeah.
Like there is like literally there's nothing that I could teach somebody, right? I could get on those sales calls myself. I'm not going to be able to do better than him because he's the guy. He's the guy on
Yeah.
the videos. So his status is so high that
Yeah.
once you get that status, the level of salesmanship required to generate a sale is so much lower. And
Yeah.
that's and I'll go into that in a bit more detail because I think it would be important for people to understand why that is so important. Because
Yeah.
one of the issues across the entire market right now, right? Let's say somebody comes to me and they say, "We have this offer, we want you to help us scale it, and we want to do 10 million a year," right?
Hmm.
And we want to get there, we want to get to 10 million a year within the next 12, 18, 24 months, right? Cool. Well, then I got to look at it and go, well, how easy is this thing to sell? If this thing's require me to sell it, well, without sounding too cocky, I'm not exactly, growing on trees, right? You don't find like top level salespeople. Top level salespeople are few and far between, right? Like
Yeah.
real top A players are very rare to
Yeah.
find. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to create on the other side, on the marketing lead gen side of the business, throughout the sales funnel, you want to get as much of the selling out of the way as possible. And in an ideal world, you would get to the point where a B level salesperson or a C level salesperson would still be able to close deals at a rate that would sustain the growth of the business,
Hmm.
right? Like that is when you know you are running a really well-oiled machine. Now, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't always be looking for top level salespeople. I'm a sales guy, of course. That like if you remove that B or C player and you put the A player in and the marketing and sales are done amazingly well, now you just have hyper growth, right? Now you're
Yeah.
insanely profitable, right? But the reality is that the content, the long form stuff, the 7-11-4 rule, like getting people to see you for 7 hours. I think it's 7 hours across 11 different interactions in 4 different locations. I think that's what the exact science says, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be 7 hours. Even 2 hours is plenty in a lot of cases, as long as the level of expertise that's demonstrated is high enough.
Hmm.
But that's probably the biggest impact it has. There's one more thing I'll mention in a second, but the biggest impact is the level of salesmanship required to get somebody to sign on the dotted line. And or if you want to be a smart business person, which most people are not, but you raise your prices back up to the point where it does require a level
Yes.
of salesmanship that's higher enough, right?
Yeah.
Because let's say you were an agency and you're charging 3K a month, right, for whatever it is. Now, I think agencies that charge 3K a month for their services typically go out of business because at scale, 3K a month, unless you're doing something that's very plug and play,
Yeah.
very, very, very difficult to do anything worthwhile for that sort of money, right?
Yep.
But let's say you're charging 3K a month, you're struggling to get people to sign on the dotted line, and you incorporate YouTube and you create a lot of really good videos, you put it on your funnel correctly, you send it out via emails before the call, blah, 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 right? all of a sudden closing those deals becomes a lot easier. Your close rate might double, triple, or quadruple. Now you can say, okay, that's great. Now I'm going to bring in a salesperson who's not me, who's lower skilled, who has lower level domain expertise and lower level of status. And now they're not going to close at double, triple, quadruple, but we might go back down to baseline, but it's still good enough, right? That's one option, right? The other option is the person who's running the show, the face of the company, removes themselves from the back end
Yeah.
and leaves themselves on the front end, which is not what a lot of people do, right? And that's what we've done in this case, is we've removed that person from the back end of the business and kept them in the front end because their status is so high in the eyes of the market that we've been able to incrementally increase prices as that status has gone up. So you can go from 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K. We're pitching 10K deals and people are just signing them like this, right? 10K a month, right?
And
Whereas
30K a month.
yeah, and 30K a month in extreme cases, right? But that's the thing is like, if you're smart about it, like a lot of these things are like levers and dials, right?
Yeah.
And you just got to look at the business long term and say, are we going to bring in a sales team? And if we're going to bring in a sales team, can we have that the face of the business do so much but leading into those calls that the person is already mentally purchased before they get on a call? It's very hard to do, but I've yet to find a mechanism that is better for doing that than long form content, and YouTube being obviously the where that content is created for, right? The way you guys create content for YouTube is perfectly set up to take somebody from, I don't know you, I don't like you, I don't trust you, and I don't see you as an authority, to I know you, I like you, I trust you, I respect you, and I see you as either an authority or ideally the authority. Like that's the goal, right? And then all of a sudden they're not price shopping anymore. Then all of a sudden they'll spend way more money to work with you because we have a relationship. But the other thing, and people don't think of this, is the YouTube channel gives you, like, it opens doors that wouldn't have been open for you before.
Yeah.
We have people reaching out to us now for this particular offer that want to get in partnerships, that want to, do co-marketing events, like people who have very established businesses, people that before this, had we reached out to and put ourselves in front of them, they might have been like, yeah, you're just one of many. Where now we're one of one. Now they look at us as being more valuable to them than potentially they are to us, which is amazing. So like, if that has started happening like pretty frequently. We actually had somebody reach out the other day with an huge opportunity that simply just because they found us on YouTube, right? They seen us on YouTube. They said, hey, I'm the partnerships manager. I work at XYZ company. We've had, for this client in particular, we've had both Facebook and TikTok, their internal teams, reach out wanting to get into a partnership, right? Just because they watch the content and they see that, okay, you guys are you're trending towards being one of the bigger personalities on YouTube in this particular category. They like the content. They're like, yeah, we want to do something with you guys so that so we can promote you a little bit more, right? So when Facebook reaches out, you're doing pretty well, right?
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah. So yeah, the opportunities that you get and the doors that are opened just because you have that channel. And again, it comes back to the barrier of entry thing I said earlier on. The barrier of entry is not that high. Is it difficult to sit down and create? I think we've only done one video a week as well, which is probably
on
makes
average, like probably one video. Yeah.
One video a week. So is it that difficult to put 2-3 hours aside a week to create a video, hand it off to a team of editors, and then that's it? You got to do nothing else? Is that difficult? There's the cost, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, what else are you going to spend that money on? That's going to give you a bigger sort of long-term return. I don't see anything.
No. Yeah. Exactly. And like these videos that you're creating, right? A lot of like, it's not just some weekly input that because the output is you have an asset that's like
It's
going
compact.
to sell for you forever. It's not just like it's not just going to sell for you like in that month or in that week. It's like you're creating a whole asset that could like generate 10, 20, 30 clients over time, right? So
Easy. Yeah.
the ROI on that is like,
It's insane. I would look at every new video now and think, this is the way that we look at it internally since day one, by the way, right? This has been our internal sort of mind, our mental structure is that I think every video should in time generate us 10 clients.
Yes.
right? So if every
Yep.
video generates us 10 clients, and I don't think that's an unreasonable ask, and I think because we're already seeing that happen, right?
Yeah.
So if every video generates 10 clients, that 2 to 3 hours a week, and the money that we spent on that, okay, let's say 10 clients is worth 500K a year. You're getting paid 500 grand to record for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like what, like that is legitimate math. That's not
Yes.
make believe numbers, right? But people just don't, because it's a longer term approach, and there's so many people out there selling you the idea of short form
Mm.
and cold email and ads and all these other things that I do, by the way, right? So
Mm.
I don't have, I have no reason to sit on this call with you and give YouTube, I have no skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
I am as loyal to any one of these acquisition channels as the other. I don't bottleneck myself by being the cold email guy or the YouTube guy or the short form guy. Like we do it all. Anything that we can do we want diversity across the funnel.
Yeah.
We want to be everywhere just in case something stops working, right?
Mm.
There's no reason. My entire company is built for that purpose. But there is no singular channel that I think is a better investment for a B2B company selling high ticket services, or if you're building a personal brand. There's nothing I can see that's better than YouTube, because YouTube helps all the other things, but that
Yeah.
relationship doesn't work the other way around. YouTube can be turned into short form content. Like we take all of your videos
Yeah.
and take the shorts from those and post them out across TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all these different things, right? So like the content, people say, oh, short term, well, short form. Where are you going to get the content from, right? You're going to sit down, you're going to record all these short form stuff.
Mm.
Why don't you just sit down and record one long form video a week and then turn
Yeah.
it into short forms, right? So yeah, so YouTube has a very positive impact on everything else you do, but the other stuff you doesn't have a positive impact on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where I see it having the most, being the most valuable. So yeah,
Yeah.
anybody, if you're serious, and that's the thing I think to finish on that point is, YouTube is for people who are trying to build a real business.
Yes.
There's just too many people in this space that are looking for, a lot of people are just looking for a quick buck. What's the easy, quick, cheap way I can, they see people driving Lambos online, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a Lambo nowadays, right? And it's so, they jump from opportunity to opportunity to opportunity, always looking for that quick win.
Yeah.
Where YouTube isn't going to generate you 10 clients in your first 90 days. Most likely, I'm sure you have probably had clients where that might have been the case,
There's
but
unique
on
cases.
average, starting
Yeah.
at zero with no other channel,
Mm.
it's unlikely to do so.
Yeah.
But long term, like again, if you use our results this month as a great example, we're only 12 months in, $250,000 in revenue generated in one 30-day period. I
Yeah.
just don't see another free channel that's going to get you that. If it comes along, I'll definitely add it to my portfolio. But right
Yeah.
now, YouTube is top of the list for sure.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And we do. Yeah. Like, there's obviously the unique cases where I mean, we've had clients that have like 10 clients in the first 30 days, right? But it's like also, yeah. I mean, everything you said there, like, and I think this is actually really valuable as well. Lots of unique insights. So there's like a couple more things to wrap up, and then we're done. So the only like the next thing is really just like, could you really describe what it is like to work with us, just so the viewers like understand the dynamic of like, what you guys handle, what we handle, and how everything kind of looks there, and also like the areas where you think you find the most value as well, and like why you think that is.
Yeah. I think obviously because I'm not the creator,
Mm.
I'm not as involved in that sort of stuff. Although I have spent time with the creator in this particular case and recorded stuff and sent it off to you guys. But essentially, like the working, I think you guys have it down to a fine art at this point, right? Like our job is, we come up with ideas together. You guys give us the scripts, and then it's simply just a matter of working together on us getting those videos recorded, handing them over to you guys in a Google Drive, telling you guys like we're good to go, or uploading it. I know you guys have like an automation that you use,
Mm.
and essentially from there, just you guys send us the first draft, we watch it, we review it. If there's anything we don't like, we get it cut out, and then we hand it back to you guys, approve it, and then we're off to the races. So it's a pretty streamlined process at this
Mm.
point. Um, yeah, it's as simple I think as it can be. I don't see a way in which you guys could improve that. Like it's fairly
Yeah.
streamlined.
Yeah, yeah. Like the only place like we don't step in really in terms of doing it for you is like the recording, because obviously that would never make sense, right? So it's like, yeah, 100%. So it's like the ideas, the scripts, and then help with recording the videos and kind of collaborating on that, as well as collaborating on the ideas and making sure we're selecting like the right strategy there that aligns with, the target customer, etc. And then like the editing, the thumbnails, A/B testing, channel management, etc.
Yeah, all of the stuff that we don't have the expertise to do, nor do we have the time or patience to do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
the only parts that we don't do are the parts where it wouldn't make sense anyway, which is like the recording pretty much. Cool. Okay, so
yeah.
then last question really to kind of wrap up. How likely would you be to recommend us? And yeah, like how likely would you be to recommend us on a scale of like 1 to 10? And
Scale of one to
why?
ten. I think if anybody has watched this recording, they probably already know the answer. I'm gonna say a 10. If somebody came to me
Yeah.
today and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about working with you guys," in fact, this did happen recently.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I sent you somebody who I spoke to. Right? They brought it up. They said, "Hey, I can't remember how they knew that I knew you. I can't remember exactly, but this conversation came up where they says I
Yeah.
know. I think maybe they made a connection between the mutual client that we share, and they basically says, "Hey, what are your thoughts?" And I gave you a glowing review. I don't know if you're working with those people or not. I never followed up on it, but
I don't
if
think I think I'll check the message out because we might be, to be honest, but yeah, I'll
yeah,
see. I'll have
if
a look.
uh, if that is the case, there's just one thing you need to know. I like my steaks this thick, right? Ribeye, right?
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
Not fillet? No, not fillet.
Yeah, no, I'm a ribeye guy. I'm a big
Okay.
ribeye guy. But yeah, no, honestly, I would recommend it to anybody. If you're a serious, and I have to use that word, if you're a serious
Yeah.
business person and you want to build a business long term, and you're looking for an edge in an incredibly competitive market, and you're looking like even if you have limited resources, like a lot of people probably look at you guys, and I know that you guys have packages where you do 2 videos a week and all this different sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't start out like it's possible had we gone for a 2 video package that we would be have gotten double the results,
Yeah.
right? So like I don't want people to sit here and think, oh, we got to jump in and like I also don't want to downsell people off. If they are interested in working with you guys doing 2 videos a week,
Mhm.
great. But in our case, it's not like we did everything. We
No.
did the lowest package that you guys offer because we only had the bandwidth to do that at the time.
Mhm.
Probably a conversation we need to have maybe in the new year. Maybe we need to double down a little bit harder and go for 2 videos a week, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately speaking, like I would give it a thumbs up across the board. The experience from start to finish has been very professional. Everyone on your team is great to work with. There's never any, if we point something out that if there's a mistake in a video, which is always going to happen, by the way, I don't care who
Yeah.
you work with. Like if something needs to be blurred out or something, some sensitive
Exactly. Yeah.
data, there's never any like defensiveness. Everyone's very positive. Like, yeah, like you guys you're worth every penny we spend on you. So yeah, 100%.
Cool.
You get the seal of approval. So yeah,
Yes. Love
excellent.
it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. And you know, I think in general, like this whole interview, it's been like super insightful, obviously, on what it is like to do YouTube properly as a business and like what that can look like, what results it can drive. But I actually think it's been a super valuable interview as well. Like I think there's been lots of you know, advice shared that
Mhm.
businesses can apply if they're going to start YouTube, but also just in general to like get better results. So yeah, I appreciate the time. I know it's been a long interview, longer than expected probably, but it has been super valuable. So yeah, cheers, Padraig. Nice,
100%. Appreciate it. And looking forward to another 12 months.
lovely stuff. Okay, there we go. We can wrap up.
All right, man.